On today's show, the Boston Celtics pick up a big win, and Jayson Tatum looks like Jayson Tatum, at least for a little bit. The San Antonio Spurs dominate the Houston Rockets. And is there a problem with the Detroit Pistons? We break it all down on this edition of Locked On NBA Game Night.
When that final buzzer rings, you know it's time for Locked On NBA Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. It's the true NBA fans' one stop for all the action. Every game, every night. It's Locked On NBA Game Night. Tipping off now.
What's up, everybody? My name's Danny Cunningham from Locked On Cavs, Swipa from Locked On Nuggets, and this is the latest edition of Locked On NBA Game Night, show where we talk about every single game in the NBA every single night. You can find this show anywhere you get your podcast. It's Apple, that's Spotify, that's on YouTube as well. And if you're watching us right now, please do us a favor, hit that thumbs up button for us and hit that notification bell if you have not already, and make sure you're subscribed to the show wherever you might be listening to it. It's because of people like you that the Locked On Podcast Network is now the #1 sports podcast network in all of America. In today's episode, brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is giving you a way to turn that energy into even bigger potential wins with a college basketball parlay profit boost. Head to FanDuel.com today to get started. That's FanDuel.com. FanDuel, play your game. On today's show, we'll talk about every game from Sunday, March 8th, including where we will begin in the city that I reside in, as the Boston Celtics got a 109-98 win over the Cleveland Cavaliers on Sunday afternoon. There's a lot to get into. Jayson Tatum was back for his second consecutive games. The Cavs shot the ball very, very poorly in this one, and we're going to start with more from John Corrales.
Boston Celtics get a little something from everybody in their win over the Cavs. I'm John Corrales from the Locked On Celtics podcast. Jayson Tatum kicked things off with a really nice first quarter. He slowed down a lot after that, but came in the fourth quarter and had a nice drive, a nice dagger three-pointer when the Celtics really needed one. Jaylen Brown was pretty good. He had 23 points. Tatum had 20. So familiar kind of scoring nights from Tatum and Brown. Tatum looked like himself for portions of this, then looked kind of gassed. That big early stint, I think, maybe wore him out a little bit, but it's all part of the process. Big contributions off the bench. Peyton Pritchard, 18 points. He had some big shots in that fourth quarter, getting to a sweet spot, right? It's become a signature for Peyton Pritchard, that turnaround in the mid-range, 10, 12, 13 feet. That's just what Pritchard has lived on this year. Baylor Shireman with 16 and 10, another double-double for him. Even though he is back on the bench, still finding a way to produce, especially after Shaq said, I don't know this kid's name at halftime. It was nice to see him go out and have a big second half. Celtics sweep the Cavs this year, 3-0 against Cleveland. A nice win. Lots to talk about on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Swipe, what do you think of Tatum in this one?
I noticed that people were very upset that Shaq didn't know who Baylor Shireman was, and I thought that was a little funny little segment. Tatum's looked great, man, and we were talking about this briefly before the show. I am still just bewildered in all the best ways that Tatum has looked as fluid as he does to start this run. It's funny, Danny, because typically when I'm watching basketball players, I'm watching, like fast break, where are they spreading out on the floor? Who's going where? How's the defense picking them up? Okay, they're getting picked up. Like, what's next? Like, what set are they getting into? Do they already have a mismatch advantage? Like, all that stuff, defensively, like, how are they locking in on their keys? Are they attached to their principles? But I've been looking a lot at Tatum just simply grabbing rebounds. Like, how is he jumping? How is he moving? How is he closing out? When he's putting, Jalen Tyson, like, in the post area, how's he exploding? How's it stopping? How's it stepping? Like, all that stuff for me has just been nothing short of a miracle. And I mean a miracle as in a basketball sense, watching Tatum be able to get on the floor and be this fluid already. And I think this is such a credit to him that, and I'm not trying to not treat him like an NBA player, because obviously he is, and he makes $300 million over the course of years, and most of us will never see money like that. And so I understand, like, he has a lot helping him be what he is, but just watching him be explosive and not as explosive yet, like, he doesn't have the same leap ability, but just for him to still be able to be involved defensively on these possessions, and then offensively, he's doing some good things as well. He's active on the boards. I think by the time we get to May, brother, and let's say we get to the second round of the NBA playoffs, there's a real world where Tatum is like, not 100% of himself, but maybe he's 80%. Maybe the quickness and fluidity is closer than what it is now. Maybe it's closer to 90% by that point. And then having that level of wing power with Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum back again. I mean, this changes everything for me, bro. I just didn't expect it to be like this. I didn't expect it to look this good already. The Celtics, it's going to be messy. It's going to take a while to figure out where Tatum slots in with some of this stuff, because he's also like, he's not going to hijack possessions, but it's also he has to find himself again.
He's got to get reps. Like, he can't do it without getting reps on the floor. He can't just go out there and stand in the corner and say, I'm playing. Like, that's not how it works.
Yes, exactly. So, yeah, you watched the game even more closely than I did, but go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, like, he was a big part of their offense, and he had a great start early. Like, I believe he hit 4 of his first 6 shots. He had 12 points in the first quarter. Like, the first quarter looked like Jayson Tatum, and then the next 3 quarters didn't look like Jayson Tatum. And I think that's going to be part of the process for him. Like, he very clearly is not at 100% of his full powers, and I don't expect him to be this year. And I don't think anybody, like, realistically, I didn't expect this year. I think it's unfair to judge him based upon who he's been, and I am wildly impressed that he's at this point this soon. But I also look at it and say, this is going to be a work in progress. And I thought that he did more of the little things against Dallas too on Friday night in his first game back, right? Like, you think he had 15 points, I think 12 rebounds, 7 assists. The other stuff wasn't necessarily quite as prevalent in this game on Sunday for him. I think he only had 3 boards and 2 assists. And the scoring was fine. Like, he had 20 points on 16 shots. So it's not the most efficient game, but I just think the fact that he's out there and he's able to go through these short stretches where he's able to play at a high level, because that's what the first quarter was. It was a short stretch in which he played at a very high level. And then the other 22 minutes that he was on the floor was nowhere near what we expect Jayson Tatum to be. But I didn't think that we would see any of those high level stretches. And I just think that's a big testament to him that that's what we're seeing right now, even if it's small stuff right now. Like, this is a part of the process, as John noted. I think he'll be better by the time the postseason arrives. I just still don't know what that's going to be.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be really interesting, man. I got to say that, like, I have Joe Mazzulla winning coach of the year right now. I think Mitch Johnson is my runner-up for number 2. But the fact that they've been able to be this good and Mazzulla ball is in full effect and they're just completely bought into the process, I am very happy for the Boston Celtics players and the front office and the people that are involved in the process, because they deserve all the credit they're earning this year for getting them where they are. And today was it was a great win. That was an important win, because this is another team that's trying to contend for the top of the East. And brother, we would have had you, believe it. It's crazy, but I mean, the Celtics are like, they're moving into like a path where, hey, we're 2.5 games out of first,
right?
We're 2.5 games out of first. Why not? Why not us, as Russell Westbrook would say?
The reason I will say why not, and I don't believe that the Celtics are going to get up to first in the East. I think it's a conversation we will start the next segment by talking about the Detroit Pistons. Boston has the second most difficult schedule in the NBA remaining. So it's not only that they're going to be working in Tatum, they're going to be doing so. They've got 2 games with OKC left. They see the Spurs again. They play the Knicks again, the Wolves. They have a game with the Suns still. Like, they have a lot of games of their 18 games left against teams that are very good. So I do think that and they also don't have the tiebreaker over the Pistons. I believe Detroit won that season series. So I do think that 1 seed probably not going to be within reach, but I think the fact that they're this close says a lot about how far this team has grown, because nobody would have expected this at the start of the year. They moved to 43-21 with win. Cavs dropped to 39-25. Just quickly on the Cavs, this was one of the worst shooting performances I have ever seen. They were 2 of 22 from 3-point range in the first half. They had 9 unguarded catch and shoot 3-pointers in the second quarter, and they hit 1 of them. And I don't know whether it was a 1:00 start, the time changed, 4 days off, but like, the Cavs looked much better in the second half than they did the first, but ultimately it is a loss. And we move on to one of the other teams near the top of the East is the New York Knicks. Fall to the Los Angeles Lakers 110-97 on Sunday afternoon. The Knicks are in a bit of a rough part of their schedule, but before we dive into that, let's hear from Locked On Lakers with more.
Kim Minetsky, co-host of the Locked On Lakers podcast. The Lakers get a 110-97 win over the Knicks in LA. LeBron James unable to play because of an elbow injury, and this is one of the best wins of the season for the Lakers, and maybe their best defensive win of the season, period. The Lakers offense stalled out in the fourth quarter, and they had to rely on stops and physicality and activity in order to prevent a comeback. Luka Doncic, who played very well on both ends, 35 points, 8 rebounds, and 2 steals. Austin Reeves, one of his best games in a while, 25 points, 5 assists, and 4 stocks. Marcus Smart, despite going 1 of 10 from the field, a team high plus 27 in the plus minus, had so many different plays where he was the tone setter or catalyst for big defensive moments, drawing fouls. He was huge in this game. A really good start for the Lakers as they are about to embark on a stretch of very difficult games. For more Lakers coverage, make sure you're watching Locked On Lakers on YouTube and listening wherever you get your podcasts.
I do not want to rain on the parade of the Locked On Lakers podcast. However, the Knicks are in a stretch of 5 games in 7 days. It's gone from the Midwest to the East Coast, all the way to the West Coast. And an afternoon game in LA just screams schedule loss to me. And did the Lakers play well? Sure. I think there was more at play here.
I mean, it's always tough to get those kind of wins on the road when you're on a West Coast swing for an East team or an East Coast swing for a West team. That is in NBA history. You can track that and say that there's probability for why you lose or you get demolished. But I do want to credit the Lakers because, again, that same Knicks team went into Denver on Friday, and when the game was actually a good game in the first quarter, you know, as soon as the second quarter started, it was 29-27 Nuggets over the Knicks, and then they just obliterated Denver the rest of the way. So the Knicks deserve a lot of credit for how well they played. It's beat the Spurs. Obviously, it didn't had a really close game with the Thunder. And then they come out here, they beat Denver, and then they lose to LA. And LA they played a really good game, man. And shout out to Luka. You know, he did have a good game. He did have a good defensive game. But I also want to note, man, like, you know, Jared Vanderbilt and Austin Reeves and Rui Hachimura, they all did very special things today. And they all helped to make this game what it was. So shout out to them, man. This was actually an impressive win for me. And I think this should bode well for Lakers fans that say, like, we can at least believe in the process, that we have the team, we have the talent to compete. They just have to be able to do it on a night in, night out basis. And I do think them getting this win over the Knicks should matter for them and for their morale.
I think it's a nice win. I think they played well, but I think that they caught the Knicks at an advantageous spot in the schedule too. I think that definitely matters. But we mentioned the Detroit Pistons, who are not in an advantageous spot in their schedule. They've lost 4 straight, including to Miami on Sunday. We're going to discuss that and everything else left in the NBA right here on Locked On NBA Game Night. But first, today's show is brought to you by Quo. Spring is a natural reset point, and if there's one thing that can quietly cost businesses money, it's messy communication. Missed calls, scattered texts, no clear thread of who said what, and that's why today's episode is brought to you by Quo, spelled Q-U-O, the smarter way to run your business communications. Quo is the #1 rated business phone system on G2 with over 3,000 reviews, trusted by more than 90,000 businesses. It lets your entire team share one business number so you never miss a call, text, or an opportunity. Everything lives in one clean thread: calls, texts, voicemails. It's all right there. The whole team sees the conversation, so nothing is going to fall through the cracks. And the AI summary saves serious time by logging calls and highlighting the next steps automatically. Just makes your business feel a little bit more organized and a whole lot more responsive. So make this season the season of no missed opportunity and no missed customer. Try Quo for free and get 20% off your first 6 months at quo.com/lockedonnba. That's Quo, QUO.com/lockedonnba. Quo. No missed calls, no missed customers. Today's show is also brought to you by PrizePicks. Shoot your shot on PrizePicks and get $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. That's right. PrizePicks is now giving you $50 in lineups when you sign up and play your first $5 lineup. Makes every dunk, every assist, and every big play that much more exciting. PrizePicks is the #1 daily fantasy sports picks app, and it's super simple to play. It's easy. You just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and if your picks are right, you can cash in. You can build lineups across a ton of sports. Basketball, that's going on right now. Big month for basketball, I would say. Baseball, also going on right now. I've watched baseball in the past couple of days. Didn't anticipate it, but I have. Hockey, also going on. College hoops going on. Soccer, I'm sure it's going on somewhere. Golf definitely going on, and so much more. And one feature that's awesome is the early payouts feature, because if your player gets off to a hot start, you may have the option to cash out.
We got the We Believe Cup right now.
What is
USA. Alyssa Thompson just had the game-winning goal versus Colombia yesterday. USA.
I never would have known, but if you play PrizePicks, you might have known because it's a really fun way to test your sports knowledge and stay locked into the action. I'm not locked in on soccer. I'm not going to lie to you guys, but download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That is code LOCKEDONNBA, LOCKEDONNBA, to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. It's good to be right. Thank you again for making this edition of Locked On NBA Game Night your first watch or listen. And if you are an everydayer making this your first show every single day, you might want to think about joining the Everydayer Club. Now's the time because you get ad-free shows and access to the group chat on Discord. Plus, if you've signed up before the NCAA tournament tips off, you can get into our Everydayer Club bracket pool on Discord for a chance to win Locked On merch. Should be a lot of fun. So right now, use the code MARCH, that is MARCH, to get your first month for free. Just head to the link in the show notes to learn more. Elsewhere in the NBA, the Miami Heat get a 121-110 win over the Detroit Pistons. This is a very nice win for Miami. It was the second night of a back-to-back for Detroit. We will get to the Detroit angle in a second, but first, here's Wes Goldberg from Locked On Heat with more.
2 nights after beating the hottest team in the NBA, the Miami Heat beat the best team in the NBA, at least by record, beating the Pistons here on Sunday at Kaseya Center, 121-110, and it was Bam Adebayo and Tyler Hero leading the way. Eric Spoelstra called them the cornerstones of the franchise after the Heat beat the Charlotte Hornets on Friday night, and they played like the cornerstones of the franchise in this one, anchoring a two-way effort over the team with the best record in the league. The Pistons were playing on the second night of back-to-back. We're keeping that in mind, and they looked like it. The Heat won this game in every facet, every area, in every way, in transition, on the boards. Defensively, they were better. They won the 50-50 balls. They out-hustled the Pistons. Probably to be expected from a Pistons team that was on the rest disadvantage there, but credit to the Heat, man. You got to give it to them. They have now strung together 4 straight wins for just the second time all season, and by the time the night ends, they could be in 6th place in the Eastern Conference. So look out. The Heat playing their best basketball of the season right now, maybe peaking at the right time. We'll have more on this win and what it means going forward over at Locked On Heat.
I will say, this is a very good win for Miami, as Wes mentions. I was actually more impressed with the win they had on Saturday night over the Charlotte Hornets, or Friday night over the Charlotte Hornets. That, to me, given what Detroit is going through right now, I do think is the better of these 2 wins, to Wes's point, because Orlando beat Milwaukee on Sunday night, and we'll get to that game in a minute. Miami's still in the play-in, but they are in a virtual tie, just percentage points in terms of win percentage behind Orlando for that spot, that final spot in the top 6.
Yeah, I mean, look, is there a world where Miami just goes on a run here?
I think it depends, what you define as run. I don't look at them as a team. I don't think that they're capable of beating any of the top 4 teams in a 7-game series in the East. But they can.
We've heard that before, though. That's my only thing, bro. And I'm not jumping the bandwagon and saying they're gonna do it. But brother, I've heard that before a couple of times.
Were different.
Miami team,
and I was somebody that was big on Miami earlier this year. Before the season, you can go ask Wes. I was high on Miami coming into this season. I thought they'd be a little bit better than they are. But they're
8-2 in their last 10, and they won 5 straight games.
Awesome basketball right now.
They're cooking, awesome bro.
Right now, they are. They're playing very well.
And legitimately, they're a game out of the 5th seed.
They could get to 5.
I think they're better than the Raptors right now. The Raptors don't look all that great.
Get to 5. That'd be great. I would love to go to Miami in the first round of the Caps. Awesome. Did it last year. It was a great time.
No, never mind Miami. Selfish reasons only. He wants to go Miami to make it to the 5th seed. No, but I will say, man, Miami is cooking. That was a really great game today, and I think for Miami's side, they were able to simply just out offense the Pistons. And at some level, we talked about this before the show a little bit. That's showing up a lot lately, y'all. I'm talking about in the first quarter. The game was not over in the first quarter, but they definitely put a real emphasis of doubt. They got up to 36-16 at one point, 36-19 at one point, and it was just kind of like, all right, this is This is not going great. And then it felt like every time Detroit started to make some runs, it just didn't matter. They were getting to the rim. They were getting to the hole. They got up 20-plus points, almost like 30. Like, this was just an absolute domination win by Miami. And I'm telling you, brother, Davion Mitchell, Bam Adebayo, Tyler Hero, Jaime Jaquez, Andrew Wiggins. It might sound like a bunch of guys, Jovic. It might sound like a bunch of guys. But with Spo at the helm, man, I wouldn't be shocked, bro, if we go into the playoffs and we're like, bro, there's no way they're doing this again.
Because there won't be a way. But I do think there's something to talk about from this game, and that's Detroit, who's now lost 4 straight. Here's Koo from Locked On Pistons on that.
Detroit Pistons have not played good basketball since All-Star break ended. Host of Locked On Pistons podcast, Koo Khalil here. It's getting pretty close to hitting that panic button for the Detroit Pistons. I'm not going to lie to you. Dealing with Asar Thompson being out, you're seeing how the defense is completely falling apart. And even really, going all the way back to the All-Star break, the last 10 games, the Pistons have fallen from the best defense in the NBA. They played like the last 10 games, the 16th best defense in the NBA. And some of that was with Asar already on the floor. They have completely lost what they had defensively over the last 10 games. What they've been doing for the first few months, their dribble penetration that they're allowing has been absolutely criminal. Some of the rotations that they've been having on the defensive end has been criminal. The effort on the defensive end from a lot of players has been criminal. And now you lose your best perimeter defender, your best defender, what was holding the defense together in his minutes the last 10 games when he was on the floor. He had a 104 defensive rating, and yet still you have the 15th, 16th best defense in the NBA. Now he's not here. In the minutes without Asar, they have a 119 defensive rating. They just allowed a 103 to Miami through 3 quarters. If they can't get their defense to get back to where it was with Asar out for the foreseeable future, they're going to be in trouble.
Time to press the panic button in Detroit?
No, it's too short of a sample size. But as I said, if the Celtics get up to that number 1 seed, that is panic button worthy, because a lot of the momentum for the playoffs and them getting to the finals are going to be contingent on them having home court throughout. And again, brother, their offense is mid, and it's going to be mid because they only have Cade and some, ancillary players. But it's their defense that's actually not been super hot lately. And I'm wondering
I think
that's just a March stretch, or if that's just actually something that's kind of taking place right now. Go ahead.
I think it's all matchup based for them.
Yeah.
Like, I look, and they've not obviously played the Celtics with Tatum. So we can just throw that out. We have no evidence there. They've cooked the Knicks every time they've played them. Like, just flat out destroyed New York in all 3 matchups. Games against the Cavs, they're 2-2. One of their wins was, again, as we mentioned earlier, in overtime when the Cavs were without Donovan Mitchell, without James Harden, missing a bunch of key guys. The other one was because Dennis Jenkins hit 7 threes. And the other 2 games, the Cavs kind of dominated them. And one of them was without Donovan Mitchell too. So, like, I look at Detroit and say their path to getting to the finals is, again, we don't know what they'll look like against Boston that's fully healthy, but they can't see Cleveland because they will not win a series. They do not have the offense to keep up with the Cavs. And I think the Cavs have too many guys to throw at Cade Cunningham, and that can really just make life difficult for the Pistons to score enough.
I want to believe that with you, but I still want to see Evan Mobley and Jared Allen in that series.
I just think 3 is worth more than 2, and the Pistons cannot shoot, and they can't.
True.
They don't have more than one guy that can create them, and I think that's the biggest issue for them. That not only do they not, because Cade was 6 of 9 from 3 in this game. The rest of the Pistons were 5 of 28, and like that is not some outlier type performance from them recently. That has been they won a game against Orlando last week where they were 4 of 30 from beyond the arc. Like, this is just who they are. They don't have enough offense. I think it's time to press the panic button if you're a Detroit Pistons fan, because things are not looking good lately. But we've got a few more games to get to, including the San Antonio Spurs putting an absolute smackdown on the Houston Rockets. That's next right here on Locked On NBA Game Night. But first, today's show brought to you by FanDuel. College basketball is nonstop. You've got big games, tight spreads, momentum swings every single night, from early tip-offs to late night West Coast shootouts. There's always action on the board. Right now, FanDuel is giving you a way to turn that energy into an even bigger potential win with a college basketball parlay profit boost. You can build any college hoops parlay you want, rivalry games, ranked matchups, conference tournaments, right? You can pick a winner, whatever conference you like. pick your winner. You could build a parlay on conference champs. You can mix spreads, totals, player props to match how you see the slate playing out. Then apply the profit boost and instantly bump up the potential payout. So go safe, go bold, ride with the team you've been following all season. It's your parlay, your style, and now with even more upside behind it. So right now, what you need to do as conference tournament week is here. We are the one of my favorite weeks of the college basketball season is here. So you have to head to FanDuel.com today to start celebrating it. That's FanDuel.com, FanDuel.com today. FanDuel, play your game. Today's show is also brought to you by Indeed. Workplace chaos, deadlines stacking up, your inbox probably overflowing, and the one position that you have to fill, well, it's still sitting open. When the pressure's on and you need the right hire, this is a job for Sponsored Jobs. Indeed, Sponsored Jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for: skills, experience, location. So you're not just hoping that the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute that I've been talking to you, companies like yours have made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status that it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support this show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Once again, that is Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions do apply. You need to hire? Well, this is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Thank you again for making this edition of Locked On NBA Game Night your first watch on YouTube or your first listen wherever you get your podcast. And next, we head on out to San Antonio, where the Spurs get a 145-120 win over the Houston Rockets. Victor Wembanyama has 29 points on 9 of 13 from the floor, also has 8 boards, 4 blocks. Stephon Castle has 23 points for the Spurs. Kevin Durant in this one had 23 on 7 of 12, shooting 8 of 9 from the line. Really, really impressive performance from San Antonio in this one, Swipa.
Yeah, man. I said on the timeline after watching this game, there's a world in which Victor Wembanyama is the closest thing we've ever gotten to a perfect NBA player. And when you see games like today where he seems to be able to show a level of mastery with the basketball as an offensive player, especially in transition or just when he's moving, it just makes you look at it. It's like, man, like he's not even like fully polished yet. And look, the Spurs are, I was really high on them coming into the year, but obviously they've moved into a different tier, man. Bro, if you told me they're the second best team, but hey, as Spurs fans, we beat OKC 3 times. If you told me they were the second best team in the conference, I wouldn't disagree with you at this point. Denver has not been healthy all year. Murray's day-to-day with an ankle. Like, they can't seem to get right. They've already whooped OKC multiple times. The Spurs believe they have the best player in the series versus OKC. And you might think SGA is better now, but I'm telling you that having a defensive anchor that's that good, that literally can change every possession in the game, and then on offensive end, he's also growing into he's a very good offensive player, like not an elite one yet, but then Dylan Harper, Stephon Castle, De'Aaron Fox, like. Bro, we start going through the archetypes of having multiple ball handlers and an elite defense and like maybe an unsolvable player. Hey, man, I'm not going to lie to you, Spurs fans. You should feel very, very good about your chances this year.
Yeah, I think they're the second best team in basketball right now. I feel very strong. Now, are they going to get to the finals? Or are they going to win it all? I don't know. I'm not ready to say that. I'm very excited to see what the Spurs look like in a postseason environment, because it is different. Like, it's a different game when you get there, and they don't have experience there. But I am incredibly excited to see what that's going to look like in San Antonio when that day finally does arrive. But I want to move on to the Orlando Magic as they get a 130-91 win over the Giannis-less version of the Milwaukee Bucks. Here's a guy, Philip Rossman-Reich, with Locked On Magic for more.
Host of Locked On Magic here at Fiserv Forum as the Orlando Magic dismantle the Milwaukee Bucks 130-91. You can certainly look at the opponent and make all those conclusions. But as I always say in these kinds of games, you still have to do the job. And what's increasingly becoming clear is that the Orlando Magic are more than capable of doing the job night in and night out. That has been the MO for this team really since the All-Star break. They are now, I believe, 6-4, or not 6-4, 7-3 since the All-Star break. They are taking care of their business and doing what they have to do to win, and a lot of it starts with Paolo Banchero and starts with him beginning to take control and command of games the way that you'd expect a star to. I have been as critical as anyone of Paolo, and Paolo's gotten plenty of criticism from around the national media and around the league, but he scores 33 points on 12 for 16 shooting tonight. He scores 26 in the first half. He sets that tone for the team on offense, gets efficient shots, attacks quickly, it gets to the basket, seemingly at will. And yeah, Giannis was out tonight. The Bucks don't have their full complement of players. He took advantage of that the way a star is supposed to do, and then in the second half, as the Magic needed to expand that lead, he became a facilitator. He became the hub of everything as the defense collapsed around him. This is what star players do, and Paolo is doing it more and more since the All-Star break, and that is why the Magic are back in the race for 6th, are back in the race for 5th, and climbing those standings very, very steadily. There are tougher challenges ahead. The Magic face the Cavs on Wednesday. They'll take this win because they all count the same in the end.
They do all count the same. There's no doubt about that. And he's right. Like, this is a team that I think I personally had written off as they'll be in the play-in. We'll see what happens. They'll have to take on Boston or New York or somebody tough in the first round. They're finding their way. I still don't think they're a team similar to Miami. I don't think they're a team capable of winning a postseason series, but this is a nice one for them. And then on the other side of things, Milwaukee's 4 games behind the play-in right now. Like, I think they're out of time, man.
No, that's over. That's not a story. Let's not even talk about that. It's not even worth talking about. But shout out, by the way, there's not been a lot of hype. Everybody wants to talk about Paolo Banchero when he's not playing well. Paolo last 10 games, 26 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists a game. He's also shooting 51% from the field, 34 from 3, and 82 from the line. That's good for a 60 true shooting. That's above league average shooting and scoring. That's really good.
It's good to see it for a stretch from Paolo Banchero. I would like to see it for a longer stretch from Paolo Banchero, because that is unfortunately not who Paolo Banchero has been for most of his career. It's a very nice basketball for Paolo Banchero, and he deserves credit for playing some very good winning basketball as of late. But I do want to move on as we get short on time here, as the New Orleans Pelicans get a 138-118 win over the Washington Wizards. Here's our guy, Jake Madison, with more.
Pelicans beat the Washington Wizards with one of the straight up weirdest box scores you're going to see in a very long time in an NBA game. I'm Jake Madison, host of Locked On Pelicans. The Pelicans won by 20, 138-118, eventually just closing the door midway through the fourth quarter against this pretty bad Wizards team where Trae Young only played about 18 minutes here. You got good performances all around. Trey Murphy led the way with 24 points for New Orleans. Zion Williamson, 20 points on just 8 shot attempts. Sadiq Bey in the 20s as well. Just a good night for New Orleans here. That was helped by 47 free throw attempts. That's second highest in franchise history here. They won a game making just 7 threes. The Pelicans were 7 for just 23 attempts. I guess it doesn't matter when you're just getting into the paint, getting fouled, and going to the line every single time. The Pelicans had 36 free throw attempts in the first half alone. Winning a game in the NBA in 2026 with just 7 made threes. Pretty unbelievable. I got the story over at Locked On Pelicans.
That is an absurd amount of free throw attempts. That's all I have to say on this game. That is so many free throws.
That's a lot of free throws, brother.
So many free throws. But moving on to Portland, where the Trailblazers get a 131-111 win over the Indiana Pacers. Our guy, Tony East, on the scene.
So 111, Blazers to 131, the final score from here in the Moda Center. Tony East here. Talking for Locked On Pacers. Ooh, tough one for the Pacers again, but it's the same game they've showed very, very often in this 9-game losing streak. Some spirited play, 35-ish minutes, and some dreadful stretches that cost them this time a 20-2 run for Portland. Thereabouts late in the second quarter, and the Blazers end up winning by 20. That was very costly for the Pacers. Their defense has been absolutely dreadful since the All-Star break. They've lost all 9 of their games in that stretch. Frequently a different reason. Tonight it was a variety of reasons. Blazers got to the paint when they wanted. They got open threes when they wanted. They were just better than the Pacers in every way, despite Pascal Siakam continuing to carry at least a somewhat sizable load on offense. Other guys playing somewhat well. Jay Huff got going in the second half. The Pacers just cannot get over the hump and win a game. That's their 9th in a row. They play the Kings in a very, very important inverse standings game in their next game on Tuesday, and we'll have much more on Locked On Pacers.
I can almost hear Pacers fan chanting, "Keep the pick," every time they lose, because that is the most important thing, is they need to keep the pick. They're bad. They're not going to be bad next year, but they're bad right now, and they need to keep that pick.
Yeah, man, I'm actually hoping that the Pacers do. I mean, I would love the Clippers to also get it too. So I feel like I'm torn here, but for the sake of the fact that they made that gamble and they also are taking a real tank here because Hallie's out, I would love for them to be able to re-up and say, hey, we got Caleb Wilson and Pascal Siakam and Mika Zubac and Halliburton and Ryan and Andrew Nembhard. Let's go see if we can win a championship.
Yeah, and if they don't keep that pick, I think we will probably feel differently about their chances for the next couple of years, but we will have to wait and see. And now we head on out to the Toronto Raptors, getting a 122-92 win over the Dallas Mavericks on Sunday. Toronto led in scoring by RJ Barrett, who has 31 points on 13 of 19 from the floor. Cooper Flagg has a bit of an off night. He has 17 points on 7 of 17 shooting, had 8 boards, had 6 assists, was a game time decision because of a foot ankle injury that he's been dealing with. That's why, but he picked up the first technical foul of his entire career, I believe is what he told the media after this game.
Yeah, man. You know, that happens sometimes. Like, you know, Cooper's young, he's extremely competitive, and he hates losing. And this is probably the most losing he's ever done in his life. But this is what a transition year is in the NBA. So he'll figure that out. Obviously, I think he's going to be a superstar one day. But shout out, man. Like, again, we're talking about like who's rising and who's falling. The Raptors, they needed this win in the worst way.
Yes, they did. They are suddenly, I think, in a fight for 5th in the Eastern Conference. And I think that if I would have told you that a month ago, you'd say, oh, Philly has figured it out. And instead, Philly is now down in 8th in the Eastern Conference. And it's with Orlando and Miami. I'm not sure that a ton of people, I know I certainly didn't see that coming. But moving on, we've got 2 more games to get to. Is the Sacramento Kings. Yeah, the worst team in basketball gets a 126-110 win over the Chicago Bulls. Maxime Renaud leads them with 26 points. Russell Westbrook has a triple-double. He has 23 points, 11 boards, 12 assists in a win. The Bulls are led by Colin Sexton, who had 28 points, hit 7 threes in this game, so nice game for him. I would imagine that the Kings are maybe happy to finally win one, and the Bulls are not too upset to lose this game.
Yeah, shout out to Russ, man. Just an incredible player to be this in year 18, I think, of his career, and then still be putting up triple doubles and having effective nights like this. Like, that's amazing for him.
And then the last game of the night, the Phoenix Suns get a really nice 111-99 win over the Charlotte Hornets. Hornets have been one of the NBA's best teams over the past couple of months. Phoenix has had Devin Booker back. I believe this is his 4th game back. They're still without Dylan Brooks. Booker goes off for 30 points on 7 of 18 shooting, a perfect 15 of 15 at the free throw line. Also hands out 10 assists in a win. LaMelo Ball led the way for Charlotte. He had 22 points. Con Knippel had 15 points on just 4 of 11 shooting. Overall, a really, really nice win for Phoenix.
Great win for the Suns. The Hornets have been the best team in the league since January. So getting a win over that team, it's important. And for them, it keeps them fighting to have a playoff chance this year as well. Shout out to Devin Booker. Shout out to Jordan Knott as well.
Jordan Knott, I would have as probably number 2 on my Coach of the Year ballot if I had.
There's so many good coaches this year, bro. Like, it's whoever.
There are a lot of great candidates. I think for me, I think Mazzulla, like, there's a gap between what he's done in Boston and the rest of the league. And then I think it's Jordan Knott and a bunch of guys in that 2-3 spot right now. You could go a lot of different ways, and there's not really arguments against a lot of guys.
Sure. Mark Daigneault as well. Like, again, there's just so many great coaches in the league.
Mitch Johnson. I mean, we could JB Bickerstaff. There are a lot of really great coaches that have had a lot of really great seasons. And I hope that you had a great time listening to this latest edition of Locked On NBA Game Night, the show where we talk about every single game, every single night. You can find this show anywhere you get your podcast. It's Apple, Spotify, or on YouTube as well. Please do us a favor. Make sure you hit the thumbs up button and the notification bell on YouTube if you have not already. And make sure you're subscribed to the show. And we'll be back tomorrow talking about every NBA game.